Here are four players the experts are fading in 2025 fantasy football leagues. Starting out, Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. Why would we fade a player who is a fantasy league winner type down the stretch as a rookie? Not a knock on Nix. He played very well, put up big fantasy numbers. But why did Nix have to do that? Ran for 430 yards because his team's rushing attack could get nothing done. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime. Nix often had to take matters in his own hands. All because of that bad running game, what did Nix have to do? He had to pass more than Coach Sean Payton ever would have wanted, but it worked. It brought fantasy points to the table. And we saw the last half of the season, last 7 contests, 3 times, Bo Nix got you at least 25 fantasy points. Incredible scoring. But this year, that defense that was very good in Denver, they brought in 3 high-level players. This could be an elite defense. That running game that couldn't get things going last year, they bring in R.J. Harvey. They bring in J.K. Dobbins and an already outstanding offensive line. This team is built to play defense and run the football. Bo Nix no longer has to carry this team on his shoulders. It's most likely that he will throw situationally. He won't have to run to bail the team out. What does that mean? Bo Nix will not function as the quarterback 8 that he's being drafted as. Sure, if he's being drafted at quarterback 11, 12, fine value there. There'll be enough up and down to work. But I think with this new setup in Denver, it's just going to minimize Nix. He'll be very good for NFL at what he does, but for fantasy, it's not going to get you those points he got you last year. Next, we've got James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. James Cook going around running back 15 in drafts. Everybody talks about the touchdowns last year, and I get it. 18 touchdowns. Now, in Cook's prior 33 games, he only scored 7. So we already know touchdown regression is extremely likely to happen. Because remember, you got Josh Allen running for double-digit touchdowns as well. Is this team really going to run for 30 touchdowns again? Maybe. Probability says not so much. But the thing that people are missing about James Cook last year, remember in 2023, Cook had 1,567 scrimmage yards. He was a beast. Last year, 300 yards fewer. Last year, James Cook only had 1,267 scrimmages. Now, it's a good number, but that's not elite. A bigger problem, the workload. And we know Cook wants more work. He wants to be the lead back. But this team learned, the Bills, in 2023, when James Cook was used heavily. In the last 7 games of 2023, his yards per carry went down to 2.64. So in 2024, what did the Bills do? After week 10, instead of Cook playing 54% or more of the snaps in most games, he began to play 36 to 46% of the snaps in the majority of the time. Ray Davis got more work. Ty Johnson got more work. So Cook is going to see fewer snaps. He's going to see fewer touchdowns. We already saw the yardage decline. This is a bad bet at ADP. If you're enjoying this breakdown, take a second, hit like and subscribe. It helps RotoWire keep fantasy advice coming your way. If you want even more of RotoWire's tools, rankings, and insights, we got a 15% discount just for our YouTube viewers. You go to RotoWire.com, you choose that subscription, you use the code YouTube15 at checkout. All right, next, we got Xavier Worthy. The hits keep coming here. Kansas City Chiefs. We all love Xavier Worthy. He was great down the stretch. We saw him score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Why the shade on Xavier Worthy, who's going right outside the top 20 wide receivers? Here's the thing. Xavier Worthy was drafted to be the downfield threat for this team, to give Patrick Mahomes a chance to challenge safeties. What happened? Rashee Rice last year played a few games, hurt his knee, was done for the year. Xavier Worthy had to, in the second half of the season, move into the Rashee Rice role. The production we saw from Worthy was in the Rashee Rice role. Now, Rashee Rice, put it this way, Rashee Rice is going to be around in the second half of the season no matter what, unless he gets hurt again. And in that case, Xavier Worthy goes back to being the downfield passer. Patrick Mahomes, believe it or not, one of the least efficient downfield passers in the NFL last year. That's a problem. And Rashee Rice is the alpha receiver in this offense. The team still has Hollywood Brown, still has Travis Kelce. Xavier Worthy was in a different role last year. He won't be in that role when your fantasy season's on the line. Be very careful in drafts. Finally, Sam LaPorta. Remember, 2 years ago, LaPorta, Detroit Lions, was the tight end 1. Last year, though, if you don't remember, through the first 7 weeks, Sam LaPorta was a fantasy football bust, averaging 2.8 targets and 7 PPR points. Why? Because the Lions were playing very good defense and they were running the football. That was their formula. Well, the defensive injuries piled up and piled up and piled up. And once that happened, Sam LaPorta was unlocked because Jared Goff was no longer throwing 25 passes a game. He was now throwing 35 to 40. So that's why Sam LaPorta averaged 50 yards and 13 PPR points in the second half of the season. The Lions have a tough schedule, I get it. But that defense, that secondary is getting better. The pass rush, Aiden Hutchinson's back. This team's going to create havoc, and their script is going to continue to be run the football and limit Jared Goff's pass attempts. You can hear all the camp talk you want, but that's the formula. And that means Sam LaPorta at tight end 4 is going to be a problem for your fantasy team.